With bags of MLS experience, a number of the first teamers have just sat down in front of us in this main stand, including AJ De La Garza. Now we have the Red Bulls lineup, similar to Saturday's game, something of a trialists and unsigned players in New York Red Bulls too, bearing in mind Red Bulls are playing against the Whitecaps a little later on at home in the CONCACAF Champions League, but still a very strong side. Red Bulls 2 winning USL Championship in 2016. As they gather in the huddle, it's a warm day here. One of the most experienced men in US soccer history there, DeMarcus Beasley. Houston shuffled the pack a little bit, but still some very recognizable names, including Vicente Sanchez, former Uruguay international, player coach now with the Dynamo, as well as you can see there, number 7, DeMarcus Beasley. About to get underway here. Chris Penso is the referee, the all-star ref for 2016, and he gets us started here at the Desert Diamond Cup. Brian Crookham alongside me, and Wilmer Cabrera has shuffled the pack. They won their first 2 games up against, with all due respect, a less threatening Red Bull side that they may otherwise meet, and it's an exercise for both of these sides for very different reasons. Red Bulls 2, their season won't start for a few weeks. Houston Dynamo with Red Bulls 2 on the early charge inside the first 30 seconds there. A decent effort, sailing just wide of the far post of Tyler Derrick. We'll have another look at that. Maybe just a little bit of defensive or lack of organisation from the Dynamo defensively there.
Well, sometimes it's hard when you shuffle the lineups and come into a day like today, getting those assignments right, managing out those first couple of minutes, and making sure that you're able to close down spaces you want to close down and not give away opportunities so early.
Tyler Derrick having some organising to do, and he was close to picking the ball out the back of his net.
So you see a little bit too much time, good ball into the box and just not quite connected on. But certainly a good start for Red Bull 2, who would love to see themselves gain some confidence today. And against, yes, maybe not right now the first choice Dynamo side, but a Dynamo side that's got a ton of MLS experience and certainly will do well, and guys that will see a lot of minutes in MLS throughout the season.
The Houston Dynamo side that, as we of course now know, didn't have the best of 2016, but lots of new faces coming in and lots of exciting prospects as well. Bags of experience. Leonardo and De La Garza from LA, to name just 2. And then that's not even going into the likes of Albert Ellis, the Honduras young DP, just 21 years of age, but exciting. And the Dynamo looking to bounce back from 2016. So, in a sense, Brian, their entire roster is going to have to try and get used to early on, get used to different formations, different personnel, and these are vital games to try and get yourself in the right kind of shape for that first game, which is coming up just over a week from now.
Well, clearly there have been a lot of maneuvers in the roster to this point, and as you've said, getting used to just Wilmer Cabrera's style. What does he expect out of these guys? You know, getting through this first phase of really the latter stages of preseason with what becomes kind of your starting lineup, getting those guys minutes, and then seeing who the key reserves are going to be as you head in. We're only 10 days away from this team opening in MLS, so you know, it's time to make sure that the plans are in place to go chase 3 points starting next week.
Asking a little too much there of Zach Ryan. So it'll be DeMarcus Beasley with the throw. And he's only re-signed a little over a week ago. No, a couple of weeks ago now. First few days of February, DeMarcus Beasley. And imagine imagine not just his experience, but also that consistency of roster, because the turnover that you do have, you do also want those familiar faces that will be battle-hardened from 2016.
Well, battle-hardened and also a leader in your locker room. When you got to get all those guys together and on the same page so quickly, you know, have an experience like that, kind of a calm hand, somebody that can provide kind of some translation for your head coach and saying, hey, this is why this is important, and this is why we do this kind of work, and this is how you push through days like today when it's not easy getting toward the end of preseason.
Tim Schmoll could have his hands full this afternoon. Mauro Manotes, birthday boy Tim Schmoll, 24 years old today. He's a big fella and commanding in the heart of that Red Bulls defence. Sanchez is making the run on this near side. Can Manotes pick him out? No, he can't. But the cross should be delivered. And Sanchez is at the back post, but it's being watched and guided out of play by David Najam for a corner kick to Houston Dynamo.
A little spark from Houston. Wenger getting into a good spot wide, and Vicente Sanchez probably not his strength going up and over people there. Najam doing a good job of getting himself to the far post and putting that ball to safety. But now they've got to defend a dangerous restart with a big group of players coming at him here.
Outswinger from Sanchez goes through a crowd of players, and handball called. That was against Eric Alexander, I believe. One round of matches left to play after today. That'll be on Saturday. And I imagine at that point, we talk about these two sides shuffling the pack, of course, the Red Bulls, their hand force with Champions League action. But I imagine Saturday we'll see as near, potentially, as the opening day's lineup, which will be a week away, because the coaches won't want to be doing too much tinkering, I would imagine.
You're trying to find some consistency in there. You're trying to push guys through as many minutes as they can this week to make sure that they're prepared to go 90 minutes when live bullets are fired next weekend.
Beasley giving chase, and he gets the ricochet kindly. Joseph Holland to that far side. It's Andrew Wenger. One of those names we talk about, and when we mention experience in Major League Soccer, Wenger is one of them. And so too, those two interchanging there. Boniek Garcia and DeMarcus Beasley, then to Eric Alexander. Manotas back on his feet. He's having to hold the line. Sanchez at the far post, just stretching. Maybe a few years ago, Sanchez will have been onto that one.
Well, good little combinations to keep the ball moving in midfield, and then Holland actually finds a nice little ball out to Wenger and just misses Sanchez there at the far post. But starting to see a little bit of that experience in midfield combined with a very talented young player in Holland there.
Yeah, first round draft pick Joseph Holland from England, from Birmingham in the Midlands. We talk about this Red Bulls side. Red Bulls 2 in the main, winning the regular season and the USL Championship in 2016, and that's a USL that's now just getting stronger given Division 2 status. They went 21-3-6 in the regular season, did Red Bulls 2. So although we talk about them being not first choice Red Bulls, this is still going to give the Dynamo, or should give the Dynamo, still give them a test this afternoon.
Well, this is a group, and they've done a very good job with the Red Bull 2 program. Look at guys like Brendan Allen, Aaron Long that have come out of this.
So that's how things stand after the earlier game as well. One more game to come here from Tucson today. That's New York City against Colorado Rapids. Play just held up here, player down. Holding his face, so Chris Penso stopping play momentarily. I think it's Dwayne Muckett that is on the floor.
Muckett getting up, and I think he just ends up hitting the back of the head with Manotas.
One of a handful of trialists with the Red Bulls from Trinidad and Tobago. John Wolyanak, who's had a wonderful 2016 with Red Bulls 2. Big Wally, as he's known with the Red Bulls.
Another kind of product of investing from within. Certainly had good days with the old Metro Stars, and scored a lot of goals in MLS in his day.
Back in '99, I believe, with the Metro Stars at a time when Tim Howard's career was just starting. So the Red Bulls down to 10 men at the moment, and Muckett is getting treatment. Looks like it's his lower lip, maybe against the teeth, just the lower part of the mouth. So he's just receiving treatment, tidying things up. Still the early stages here, 11 minutes gone. New York Red Bulls and Houston Dynamo scoreless here at the Desert Diamond Cup. Offside against Manotas. So yes, 1-1, lost 1 so far, the Red Bulls. The stronger side this time last week, a 2-0 win over New York City. Sasha Klestion, the new Red Bulls captain, with both of the goals on that occasion. And then last Saturday, a similar lineup to the one this afternoon, losing 3-0 to Sporting KC. Whereas Houston have won both of their games. 2-0 over the Revolution and 3-1 against New York City in a game we saw David Villa sent off using VAR. Video assistant referee. Garcia got a little bit too much air on that. The one thing that Houston, Brian, in the first 2 games, they outshot their opponents quite significantly, very aggressive in the final third.
I think that's probably the biggest change to this group in the off-season is while they had pace in Manotas, and they've added pace all over that front 4 basically, and they can come at you now. They can really cause some problems.
Not away in the way that David Abador wanted. Off the edge of the head, out for a throw in over on the far side as opposed to away from goal. So after weathering a little bit of early pressure, that opening chance in the opening 30 seconds, Houston have begun to find their feet against Red Bulls.
The difference so far has been Houston's now able to possess the ball in midfield, and New York likes to just sink in, tighten up to the middle of the park. All of a sudden you find players in the wide areas open, and Houston can be a little more clinical from the wide areas in delivery. They're going to have some more chances in here.
Sanchez looking deep. That'll be wide of the goal, and off the shoulder, I think, of Abidor. And that'll be another corner kick to the Dynamo. Red Bulls fans listening and watching this game. Of course, get along to Red Bull Arena a little later on. You've got a double dose of Red Bulls today. And watch that game against Vancouver Whitecaps. Well away by Schmoll. As far as George Melky, another trialist. Sanchez twisting and turning. And tries one with his right. Dominating aerially, defensively, Red Bulls at the moment. Struggling to get the ball away though, aren't they? It's getting kind of lodged in their final third. It's coming back at them. Defending in numbers though.
Well, as you've said, Red Bull's doing a decent job of collapsing in and making the space tight centrally, but they're going to have to, in transition, be able to retain the ball, or it's going to keep coming at them like this. And here you see even Holland getting into those wide channels and flashing balls across the box, and they're not going to be able to sustain this if they can't find that extra pass. Once you've won it, can you find the next pass and retain it and take a little bit of that pressure off?
We're 9 days away from the opening game of 2017 MLS. 11 days away from the opening game for the Red Bulls at Atlanta and Houston under their new head coach Wilmer Cabrera. They're home to the champions Seattle Sounders FC on March the 4th. Go to HoustonDynamo.com or call 713-276-GOAL and get along to BBVA Campus Stadium for that opening game against the champions. Sanchez, number of bodies in front of him, back to Alexander. The thermometer touching around 80 degrees Fahrenheit today. So these players, I imagine, Brian, are not going to want to do too much running, but that's what the Red Bulls are doing at the moment. They're defending in numbers, but they're chasing the ball.
Well, they're having to chase a lot, and if you even look at the starting position of the fullbacks right now, Beasley starting 10 yards past his midfield pretty much every time he even looks at the ball. Same thing with Malky. You know, Red Bull are starting to get pinned back a little bit. They're probably going to have to press a little bit higher so that they're not defending quite so deep.
Defensively very solid though, and again we go back to their USL domination in 2016. Just 21 goals conceded, 61 goals scored. And that's just an indication really of kind of the bar being raised from the bottom up within North American soccer. Sanchez against Schmoll. The large, long legs of Tim Schmoll getting ahead of 5'7" Vicente Sanchez.
Well, I think Red Bull has certainly shown a very good plan for having a two-team, for getting into a situation where they can kind of take a good look at young players under their own control, manage the minutes that those guys are getting. And Houston's done the same with a slightly different model in the Rio Grande Valley. They're promoting even with their head coach here. So, you know, and they've got 8 trialists here from Rio Grande Valley as well. So that USL piece certainly becoming an important part of the development of clubs. Here I think we get a little look at the foul, and there'll be a little disagreement on how harsh that was.
You can see there in the middle of the penalty area, Tim Schmal, who's got to be almost 6'5", who's marshalling his teammates. Sanchez will look to try and keep the ball away from him. He's gone near post. Uncomfortable there for Evan Loro. He's finding an outlet though, isn't it, Brian, at the moment?
That's it. Times like that, can you retain that next ball so that the pressure comes off? Because now you're just turning around and defending, you know, just a little bit cleaner.
Well, the Red Bulls home tonight against Vancouver Whitecaps in the Champions League. Go to NewYorkRedBulls.com or call 877-727-6223. Their first home game in MLS is the second game of the season for the Red Bulls on March the 11th against the Colorado Rapids. First game, though, is against the New Boys on the road at Atlanta on March the 5th. Well taken down by Abador. Garcia finding Alexander. Bit of space over on that far side. Sanchez, Manotes making the run. Wenger at the far post. Not the best of deliveries, almost sneaks in at the near post though. Off the body of Schmal, and Loro had to be alert to the danger. Corner kick to Houston Dynamo.
But there you see Manotas stretching his legs a little bit, and Schmal just gets the chest in the way, and nice little reaction there from Loro.
Sanchez once again, you can see the corner flag. There's a little bit of a breeze. Put over the bar on that occasion. By Garcia.
Well, Houston have some big targets, and you see Agus get on top of that. Players fighting for it. You got big bodies like Eric Alexander in there as well. So certainly the more times they give away these restarts, the more opportunity Houston has to get down and get that right. Certainly a part of it, a detail that you want to get right in preseason as well.
Yes, they've got a number of Garcias. He goes by the name of Agus. It's Kevin Garcia and Emilio Garcia.
Good look from behind, and you set that little pick and be able to get him off Manotas, and makes good connection, but just over the top.
Well, there was a chance for them to apply a bit of pressure, Red Bulls. That short free kick didn't quite work out as they'd planned. A little slip didn't help. Now being pushed back into their own half again. A little over midway through the first half here. New York Red Bulls against Houston Dynamo. No score, as you can see. Great early chance for the Red Bulls, but since then it's been defending that they've had to do in the main. Gonna have to go the long way around to get the ball, I think.
Ball kids are in school right now.
I think it's fair to say the Revolution found their shooting boots.
I think a lot of goals this morning, entertaining.
With Abador and Schmoll in the middle there. A couple of decent target men. We're talking margins, I know, but when you're a big defender that's gone up and it's put straight into the arms of the keeper, it's just a little too close to the keeper.
It's definitely frustrating when the keeper is able to catch anything in there. But once again, these are details that you got to work out this time of year, so that so it's a lot more synchronized once you get to the first weekend of March, which is coming fast.
Wenger. Anyway, will do. He's back with the Red Bulls. Manotas, who was so clinical at the end of last season, wasn't he? 6 goals in 5 games over a very enjoyable spell for him, dragging that one wide. And we talk about rustiness, that was maybe a little bit of pre-season rust there, didn't strike it quite cleanly.
Oh, but the turn and his ability to get away was pretty impressive there, and so you put him in those spots enough times, he's going to score goals.
Baba. Beasley having to just check back for that one.
We talked a little while ago about maybe Red Bull being able to press a little bit higher, especially in the wide areas, and maybe making sure that Beasley and Malky have to get the balls in deeper spots, and as they do that, they're actually able to get players around the ball as well and keep it in one side. I think they've done a better job of that to this point, and now they're able to ensure that Houston doesn't really dominate that possession all the time. Now they've got to be aware of the break, though.
3-on-3. Garcia trying to find an opening.
So if one phase of it is pressing a little bit higher, then it becomes connecting those lines and making sure that one ball doesn't break 2 lines and create that counterattack. So I think Red Bull are making good adjustments. They've just got to get there, and you also have to remember they're 3 or 4 weeks away from their season beginning, where Houston's a week away. So just different spots, and those are things that it takes time to sort out, especially with groups that you're rotating out in preseason.
It was fascinating, this central defensive pairing as well for the Red Bulls. Abador, who went undrafted in 2015, spent some time in Sweden. He's now back having another go in MLS, and Tim Schmoll Spent time, I think he came through the academy at Servette in Switzerland. So two players with a bit of European flavour to them. And they're up against a very experienced forward prong for the Dynamo when you look at the likes of Wenger and Sanchez and Manotes.
What's interesting, now that Sanchez and Wenger have flopped and they're kind of going from outside in, it actually is playing a little bit better into the hands of Red Bull, because then it's a little bit easier for them to get across and try to keep the game compact there.
Not sure Tyler Derrick's going to want to go down the middle with his clearances, because that's going to be meat and drink to Tim Schmoll all night long. Penso bringing it back for an early infringement, so it'll be a free kick to the Dynamo. Half an hour gone, still no score. Bonnier Garcia, DeMarcus Beasley finding Eric Alexander to the far side. George Malky to Holland, back to Malky again. Two guys looking to impress. Sanchez, nice turn. Abador closes the door.
I think Holland's done a good job when he's had time of picking good passes forward and getting people on the ball in good spots, and certainly shows some promise for a player that's a lot on a young player, a fairly inexperienced player, to take on in preseason. He's done a pretty good job today.
So when you talk about the fact that the Dynamo are a week away and the Red Bulls, which is predominantly Red Bulls 2, are kind of 3 weeks away, what are you expecting from, in terms of the preparation from those two sides at this time of pre-season?
Well, I think you're getting when you're a month away, you're still dealing with general shape issues. You're trying to look at the structure of your group and see how it's all going to come together, and you're not even always able to get to all the details this early in preseason. Where if you're looking at Houston, you're talking about, can we make sure that as we squeeze our lines higher, we're getting, our shape behind the ball is better. You're getting to all the detail pieces of when the ball moves. What do we look like from a team side, from an individual side? You're, clearly in different places from a fitness standpoint. And preseason is still very difficult because you got players that come in with international experiences or reasons that they've been playing all winter, and you got players that are coming in and have needed an off season. So your vets may take a little bit longer to get back in than your younger players. So that's the challenge for these coaches, is get them all together and on the same page as quickly as they can, knowing that they start in a lot of different places.
Wenger called back offside on that occasion. If you're just catching up with news coming out of your respective clubs today, the Red Bulls signed Aaron Long to an MLS contract. That was announced earlier this Wednesday. He joins on a permanent transfer. He was on loan at the end of last season from Red Bulls 2. (22 appearances for Red Bulls 2 in USSL in 2016. Didn't play in MLS, but did make some appearances in the group stage of the Champions League for the Red Bulls. He was also named USSL Defender of the Year, so he is now a fully fledged member of the New York Red Bulls. That news announced earlier today.
Those are stories of the process work. When you invest in a reserve team and in a two-team, you want to make sure that you've got that conveyor belt of players that are able to move on each year. And certainly a big step when you can sign guys full-time in that have led your reserve team to a championship.
Some space on this near side. Kept in. And away by Bonnet Garcia, winger. Giving chase. Abador. Staring him down. Far post, and that should be nice and easy. And it is. 35 minutes, and eventually Houston Dynamo break through from Wenger to Manotes, and Houston Dynamo are one to the good.
Well, Boniek is actually very aware in this situation, is able to play a first-time ball forward to Wenger, who's obviously done a good job of winning his 1v1 battle and slotting that across, and you're always going to have Manotes crashing the box and getting himself in and around the 6-yard box. But certainly a good job by Bonnet Garcia to play that ball first time, recognize the fact that he's got two center backs isolated on two attacking players, and they're able to go forward quickly.
And as we wait for the restart, the Red Bulls making a change. Coming out was Dwayne Muckett, and Brett Nason replaces him in the centre of midfield. Muckett got that bang earlier in the game. I don't think it affected him too badly, but he's got 35 minutes under his belt. But that was another experience, another example, should I say, of Houston breaking quickly. They've been under a little bit of pressure at the other end. The final ball that the Red Bulls couldn't quite find, and then all of a sudden 2-3 passes and the ball's in the back of the net.
So that's what we were talking about early in preseason as well, is that when you've got both fullbacks going, how are you going to deal with a loss of possession? And those are the things you got to sort out now. If you're Red Bull, is that we've got numbers forward, we've been pretty successful, and we weren't able to then stop the counter once we've given up possession there.
Holland finds Sanchez. He's still got a few tricks, hasn't he?
Oh, he does. Can definitely produce some moments of magic.
Be a huge plus for Houston Dynamo. So much experience. Talk about players coming on maybe late in games, making a difference. But it's not just on the field. He was a huge positive in the locker room as well during his time in MLS with the Rapids. A very popular figure as well. Could be a card, yes it is. The substitute, Brett Nason. He's only been on 3 or 4 minutes, and he's got a yellow card.
Well, that's one way to stop that fast counter-attack.
Should be Tyler Derricks. Agus to Alexander. Forced back to his keeper, Jalil Anibaba. Another player with bags of experience with Sporting Kansas City, Seattle and Chicago. Nice from Holland. He's curled away and into the path of Beasley. Lucas Batista, Brazilian trialist, against the experienced Uruguayan Vicente Sanchez. So into the last 5 minutes of the first half, and a bit more defending for the Red Bulls.
You can see when Houston gets the ball moving and when they're able to get into the center of midfield and then quickly get it wide again, it's very difficult for Red Bull to get across and get numbers around the ball. And you give somebody like Vicente Sanchez those opportunities 1v1, he's gonna punish you more times than not.
Imagine in low. No, he's gone to whip it to the far post, and there is number 2. The Houston Dynamo. Jalil Anibaba, 41 minutes. And a bit of daylight for the Dynamo.
Well, quality service, Anibaba's able to get in and clearly beats his marker there. And I think Brad Nestor would like to have that one back. But once again, quality service. Goalkeeper can't get to it. Anibaba's able to walk it straight into the back of the net.
Red Bull's trying to respond. Yeah, Sanchez with that delivery. Wasn't floated, it was whipped in. Bit of top spin. That's difficult for defenders because from a trajectory point of view, it comes in very, very flat, doesn't it? Very flat, very quick.
Well, it's not something that the goalkeeper can come and find. Defenders are going to end up facing their own goal, trying to deal with it. And that's an uncomfortable position for a defender.
Well, that was from Sanchez delivery from the free kick, which he himself won. You also talk about 3 weeks for the Red Bulls and a week away from the opening game for Houston, and part of that understanding is the understanding. It's the movement of the ball, the quickness, the laying the ball off, the movement of players around you, and that can be tiring on the opposition.
Oh, it absolutely is. It's tiring on you trying to get it synchronized, and you know, even if it's a yard or two of running that you didn't have to or shouldn't have to do, you know, those things add up over the course of time. And this time of year when you're not fully fit, it really starts to add up.
So that was the opener from one end to the other in the blink of an eye. Manotes opening things up, and there was a free kick from Vicente Sanchez, whipped in far post, and Jalil Anibaba, defender, turned scorer.
He'll tell you that technique is practiced all around the world by top goal scorers. Throw your big quad at it.
Not quite there from Sanchez on that occasion. Confirmation of your scorers. Into the last minute of the 45. I imagine we will be looking at some stoppage time. Dwayne Muckett, of course, got some treatment to that mouth injury. And we've had a substitution as well, which normally affords us 30 seconds. And then they are normally pretty quick turnarounds, so not the usual 15 minutes at half-time, so don't go too far. I'm now being told we could be looking at 15, but to just maybe keep half an eye on the, however you're watching this game.
It's usually easier to turn it around fast if you're making 11 substitutes at halftime that are not regenerating there.
Well, no time added on at the end of the first half, so 2 goals for Houston Dynamo in a half where New York Red Bulls had a lot of defending to do and were camped in their half for long stretches of that first half. The goals falling to that man, number 19, Mauro Manotes, and number 2, Jalil Anebaba. This is a Houston side that, as we said right at the beginning, is looking to react in 2017. As we take a look back at the first 45, it was a good start from the Red Bulls. This was inside the first 30 seconds and just inches wide of Tyler Derrick's far post there. But Brian, about as good as it got in terms of real chances for the Red Bulls. They had a few kind of half chances, bit of possession in that final third. The final ball was lacking, and then eventually Houston Dynamo started to wear down the Red Bulls. That was almost put beyond his own keeper by Tim Schmoll. And then here the first goal, Manotes. And that was at a time where the Red Bulls had looked promising at the other end.
Well, Red Bulls got a little bit of confidence, got some numbers going forward, and then in both of these cases, once they sent numbers forward and Houston was able to get on it, one break leads to the goal directly, one break leads to Sanchez being fouled, and then his talented left foot being on top of a restart that Anababa can walk into the goal. So, you know, it becomes about every time you get some confidence from Red Bull side, all of a sudden you're punished for making a little bit of progress. So, you know, it's things that they're going to want to work on, and these are the things you want to see in preseason, is getting exposed in those spots so you can get better.
Well, the Red Bulls are still out here, being spoken to by the head coach on the sidelines. The Dynamo have gone back to the locker room to maybe cool down a little bit. It is pretty warm here. Don't go too far. We'll be back for the second half. Half-time, New York Red Bulls 0, Houston Dynamo 2.
Trevino directs it? You're shit. Ron's directed that?
Welcome back to the Desert Diamond Cup. Second half is almost upon us. Half time, you can see the scoreline there. Houston Dynamo leading by 2-0, and there's me talking towards the end of the first half that we might have a truncated half-time interval. It's been a little over 15 minutes. I think some of that was due to Houston Dynamo being a little way away from the field. But we are back and we are ready to go. I imagine the two sets of players taking on plenty of fluids at half-time. A bit of a breeze down there, but still extremely warm. We are back underway. The Dynamo kicking from left to right in this second half, defending a 2-goal lead. Manotas and Anibaba with the goals in the latter stages of the first half. Can't see too many changes from the Dynamo, I don't think. I think we've got a lot of their readied players that have been warming up during half-time away to our right-hand side. But lots of changes for the Red Bulls. We'll try and ease our way through that. The Red Bulls have got a few from the first half still out on the field, including Schmoll and Brett Nason, who was a substitution late in the first half. Put that aside, I think they're pretty much changed. So 9 new players in the second half for the Red Bulls. So along the back line, on the right-hand side, you've got Ethan Cutler and Hassan Endam, Tim Schmoll and Kevin O'Toole on the left. The holding midfielders, Brett Nason and then Kazu Shigenobu. On the right-hand side, Florian Vallo and Andrew Tenari. Safely into the arms there of Tyler Derrick, and up top Fernandez and Tirsi.
Well, certainly an energetic group for Red Bulls too, coming out of the locker room at halftime, or the bench area, depending on which team you are there. Look like they want to press a little bit higher. They want to be a little more active in trying to take the game at Houston a little bit.
Back to Beasley. Every Red Bull player behind the ball at the moment. So just a reminder, the Red Bulls, the first team in Champions League action a little later on. So once you've finished watching this, get along to Red Bull Arena and cheer them on against the Whitecaps.
Sanchez always has a way of getting himself out of that, doesn't he?
That's the wily, the old pro there, Vicente Sanchez, who's won another free kick. See the shots a little bit more lively now. The breeze has picked up, so he's be drilling this into a bit of a breeze. Manotes back to goal, still work to do. Tenari. Back to O'Toole. Kevin O'Toole, another one that's had USL experience, but actually still with the academy. He'll be heading off to Princeton in the fall. Talk about that building, that foundation, and then those healthy numbers coming through, both in terms of your USL and then your academy as well. You're beginning to, eventually, that's going to bear fruit. Not instantly, but 2 or 3 years down the road, and that's promising signs.
Well, and as you look at opportunity that comes because of Champions League, all of a sudden you have to put a slightly different squad into this event, and then you have to fill a little bit with academy players, but those are all opportunities, and to be set up in a system where those opportunities present themselves fairly constantly, you know, it gives you a better chance of success in creating that player pipeline. And I think Red Bull has done as well as most in setting up not only the pathway, but then moving players along the pathway there.
Magus finds Anibaba, scorer of the second goal. We are expecting Houston changes. The subs still warming up away to our right-hand side behind the Red Bulls goal.
The pace of that warm-up has just intensified. So
there's 7 of them warming up over there. Put through their paces by Paul Caffrey. Those on the bench include Taylor Hunter, Kevin Garcia, Emilio Garcia, Jose Escalante, Dylan Remick, Mimo Rodriguez, TJ Kasner as well. The sub-goalkeeper, Callie Brown. We'll find out at the end of today's play the schedule for Saturday. Final 3 games, 5th versus 6th, 3rd versus 4th, and then the championship game, first against 2nd. Houston on course to be in that first place game, but keep across your respective club websites and check on that in the coming days. You look at the moves that Houston have made during the off-season, they're going to be a much more competitive side in 2017, surely.
Well, they're going to be a team that they're going to take some pressure off what they had defensively, because they're going to be so dynamic in the attack, and you're going to have to respect that space in and behind the back four where they're going to come at you. They're certainly a team that you'll be more fearful of in your preparation and looking at the group going forward. So you know, that makes for a more exciting a conference when you know the games could have the potential to open up a little bit.
Then you look at the moves that San Jose have made, and obviously Seattle, LA, Portland will be looking to react after a disappointing 2016 off the back of winning MLS Cup in 2015. LA Galaxy with maybe a little bit to prove with the loss of Gerrard and Robbie Keane and Landon Donovan and Bruce Arena. LAFC on the horizon. Then you look at the Eastern Conference, which Atlanta look like they're going to land with a big thud, don't they?
Well, there's one thing for certain in MLS is there's nothing for certain. So it's going to be an interesting year for sure.
Bit of movement now on the Dynamo bench, so expect some changes shortly.
I thought that would have been a fun little cutaway there. Bounce goal.
Trying to find some space, and that's not too far away.
I think the Red Bulls have done a very good job of pressing into the areas that they want to win the ball back in and not letting Houston out. And there you see a good job. Tenari's able to get on the ball in a very dangerous spot. So they're cutting out the opportunity for Alexander to get on it and then change the game. Forwards have done a good job of cutting out that little entry pass, and they're able to get bodies around the central midfield players and make sure that they can't retain possession in the middle of the field and then change it, and that's where they're having some success now.
Yeah, first of all, didn't quite fall kindly for Tenari. Still had work to do here. They should drag it back and then pulled it back across goal. I think it was monitored and marshalled by Tyler Derrick. So it looks like a change is almost upon us for Houston Dynamo. Dylan Remick is the man who's all suited up now and ready to go. I'm trying to see who's going to be coming in for. I saw Joseph Holland give a sign. Well, that was to Wenger on this near side or to the bench, but that might be the switch we'll see shortly. So Kevin Garcia is now getting his jersey over the top of his head. So a double switch for the Dynamo, who still lead by 2-0, approaching the hour mark. I imagine that's what it was, 60 minutes, and then we'll make the switch. You can see at the bottom of your screen there the two players being given last minute instructions.
There's a good chance Remick will come in on that left side. Maybe Beasley for this change. He may have had his 60 minutes and working his way back in.
There are none.
Yes, Remick, a defender.
Good
So
line from Red Bull there to thwart the attack.
there is Beasley finding Sanchez. Still got some life in those legs. Toying with the defender. Alexander hurrying it along.
Hit 80 today.
Holland back to Alexander. Forced back to Anibaba. On this near side, trialist George Malky of Rio Grande Valley. Squeezing the play, the Red Bulls. Houston will try again. The angled ball from Tyler Derrick does well to sit up, and Beasley keeps it in. Far post, and it's Wenger that's coming in. Referee allows the advantage. Kevin O'Toole, who's taken a bit of a knock there. The referee stopping play.
Get a little look at it there from wide. Good service from Sanchez, and Wenger just trying to make an effort at the ball, and we're back up and moving.
Edging past the hour mark. Keno North Stadium. The Desert Diamond Cup. Earlier today, New England Revolution winning by 6-2 against Sporting Kansas City. I know lots of fans will look at scorelines, but I've spoken to a number of coaches. It is more about performances, personnel, and shuffling the pack and just getting ready for that opening game. Nobody likes to lose 6-2, but I dare say it's about looking at the bigger picture for Peter Vermees.
Peter Vermees probably doesn't enjoy losing anything he plays in, so you're always going to be disappointed.
Wenger does well there with the nutmeg on Tim Schmoll, and the changes coming in now. So it is in fact Beasley for Remick, and it's going to be Kevin Garcia for George Malky. He's had a decent 62 minutes, the 24-year-old.
He has another Rio Grande Valley product.
That is Kevin Garcia. Back into the mix, danger not cleared. Holland does well there with Tenari. Dylan Remick, who, although has been around MLS, is new to the Dynamo in 2017. Hani Barber's going to have to watch himself here. Four seasons at Seattle, just 44 appearances in that time. The Dynamo picking him up in stage 1 of the re-entry draft. Kevin Garcia, on the other hand, is captain of Rio Grande, joined the Dynamo in September of 2016. And he's known to Wilmer Cabrera, who coached him in New York during Garcia's youth career. So not only is there that historical connection that Wilmer Cabrera's got with Rio Grande and bringing some of those players through that he knows, but he's certainly going to know Kevin Garcia from youth and USL. Now this is a little sloppy defensively from the Dynamo, and the Red Bulls have got on the scoreboard. Given away, intercepted, and the lead has been halved by the Red Bulls. 65 minutes gone, and that goal has been put away by Omir Fernandez.
Well, the pressure pays off, especially when you've changed the fullbacks. A little unfamiliarity, kind of a lazy ball back to the goalkeeper. Right place, right time, but effort in pressing pays off. And the goal cam.
Another change also from the Red Bulls there. Jake Freeman just coming in for Brett Nason. And Nason got about 35 minutes. Getting a little testy.
Well, this is the nature of preseason. When you change players in the back four, it's always a little bit unsettling, and Houston's got to find their rhythm a little bit. Different spots, different places to play out from, starting positions of the fullbacks, and get yourself in trouble.
Hani Barber in the book. Florian Vallo is over the ball to Andrew Tanari. Some big fellas to get the ball up and over or through. Much more promising from the Red Bulls though. We're going to have another 2 changes for Houston Dynamo. Sanchez is coming out. 67 minutes for him. Look at Escalante and Mimo Rodriguez coming in for Sanchez and Boniek Garcia. Rodriguez got the 3rd goal last weekend in the 3-1 win against New York City. In fact, originally a homegrown player with the Dynamo. He was then released by them this time last year and spent 2016 with Rio Grande Valley. Escalante, another from Rio Grande, played under Cabrera. Being pressured a little bit more now. The turnovers are coming thick and fast for the Red Bulls. Manotes. Escalante. Forced all the way back to Agus. And further back.
difference in the second half is that Red Bulls know when they want to press, and they're looking for those little square balls. A 5-yard ball, they are jumping and getting onto it quickly and locking it into one area of the field. And they've been able to recover it not only higher on the field, but a lot more often by getting numbers around it and picking and choosing their times to go quite well.
Just to remind you, the opening game for Houston Dynamo in the 2017 MLS season. It's a big one. It's home to the champions, Seattle Sounders FC, on March the 4th. Get your tickets for that big game. Go to HoustonDynamo.com or call 713-276-GOAL. 2 home games in a row for the Dynamo, in fact. A week later, home to Columbus Crew. And the first trip of 2017 is a testy one as well. At Providence Park, the 2015 MLS Cup winners, Portland Timbers, on the 18th of next month. So 3 goals in the game so far, 2 in the first half. Houston Dynamo looking comfortable, having dominated for long spells. Manotes with the opener, and Jalil Anibaba in the latter stages of the first 45, but it's been fresh legs and a fresher approach from the Red Bulls in the second half. Sloppy defending there a little bit and put away by Fernandez, and the pressure has been a little one way since that goal. Changes being made by Wilmer Cabrera, and that of course, Brian, brings its own challenges as they try and get into the rhythm and get up to the speed of the game. Tyler Derrick will grasp at that one. But of course, we've spoken about the weather, but fresh legs as well. I mean, the Red Bulls brought on fresh legs after 45 minutes, and however much you've been in pre-season, 65, 55, 60 minutes in this kind of heat and on a pretty firm, it looks dry and firm, this surface, although they were watering it just before kickoff. That's going to take its toll.
Well, it will, and it starts to drain on you. It's kind of that accumulation of work done in preseason. These guys are looking to push through Saturday and then get that entire week that's on a real game schedule. Then, you know, you get a day off, you get back to your natural kind of training environment, and then you truly prepare for a match instead of kind of going through all the paces that you get put through in preseason. And so getting through important, pushing through minutes here kind of gives you the ability to then take a deep breath on Sunday and go home and prepare for the season.
And that season starts a little later for the Red Bulls. March the 5th, a Sunday game, and they're on the road for the first game of 2017 at the newcomers Atlanta United. The first home game of 2017 is against Colorado Rapids on the 11th. Go to NewYorkRedBulls.com, or the number to call for tickets to that one is 877-727-6223. I imagine if you're probably not too late to get tickets for tonight's game against Vancouver Whitecaps in the Champions League as well. That's the other big factor, isn't it, for some of these sides involved in Champions League action. We'll just break away and watch this interaction off the post. Should be followed up, and it is, and that is 2-2. 72 minutes gone, and we're all square in the Desert Diamond Cup.
Well, definitely good heads up here on the restart and being able to play in behind immediately, catching Houston napping a little bit in that back group, and good effort on goal, getting bodies forward and following up, and a little bit of life in this Red Bull 2 team.
Lucas Terci with the equalising goal. Let's see what Houston, how they're going to respond. Coming back to my point, is that the Red Bulls pre-season is kind of a couple of weeks ahead of most of the other MLS teams because of that Champions League commitment.
Well, and it's very difficult because they also are not able to really start. They've got to push the pace of their preparation, but they're not really able to start any earlier with the CBA, with things that go into that. So it becomes very difficult for these teams that are in Champions League to. Now, to be fair, tonight Vancouver is going to be in the exact same boat that New York's in. But when you're playing competition from CONCACAF that has a different set of rules they have to play by, or they get to play by in as far as preparation, it sometimes becomes difficult. So, the early stages of that are certainly a challenge for MLS clubs.
Bit of a change to the format for next year. I'll try not to explain it here. Take me probably the rest of the 17 minutes we've got left. I'm not very bright. The Red Bulls have had the lion's share of this second half. Got back to 2-2 from 2-0 down. And similar to the Dynamo in the first half, Brian, where they just can't get the ball away, they can't get it out of their own half, and then it's coming back at them.
What is, and obviously we talked about the fresh legs, and it's certainly easier to press when you have fresh legs and go, but also they've kept good organization. They've been able to find their moments where they wanted to press, where they want the ball to go, and then being able to jump it once they've put it into one spot. And so you look for progress in games like this, and from a Red Bulls standpoint, I think you'd have to say you found progress. From Houston, you've already mentioned. They're pushing now through. The quality is going to drop a little bit based on where they are fitness-wise, but they're pushing through to get the minutes with as many of these guys as they can.
I'm going to have a few more changes for the Dynamo as we approach the last 15 minutes. Taylor Hunter is standing by. And Callie Brown as well. So a switching goal. Callie Brown at 6'5" will be taken over from Tyler Derrick. And Taylor Hunter comes in for Jalil Anibaba. Hunter, another one that's had time away. At Rio Grande Valley in USL, drafted out of DU, University of Denver in 2015. Similar to Mimo Rodriguez, was released at the end of kind of pre-season, middle of pre-season, this time last year.
It's just a reset. It's in the lower third. Oh wait, upper right.
Looking to try and make an impact, having worked under the watchful eye of Wilmer Cabrera at Rio Grande, now the head coach of Houston Dynamo. And that's one of the intriguing parts, because 19, 20, 21, 22 players develop at different stages. They mature, they hit their strides, and maybe a player that does disappear to USL is not kind of out of sight, out of mind anymore.
Well, they're definitely not out of sight, out of mind. They actually are now getting opportunity, because in the past, in MLS, or in phases of MLS in the past, you had a very short window to make it, or you were going to get banished to somewhere where you might not be found again. And now there's certainly a direct link. Every single game is televised. The coaching staffs are linked in so many of these organizations, and it's there's always an opportunity, and it also gives clubs the opportunity to take chances on players that they may not have at other stages of the development of the league.
So we've already talked about the Red Bulls and Red Bulls 2 and the academy players coming through. And we've spoken at great length of Rio Grande Valley and the channel there between themselves and Houston Dynamo. So is an experiment. I say experiment in the nicest sense. It's something that has been embraced by the league, that is clearly working, because that depth of talent and the opportunities, and when you talk about Champions League where you need depth to your squad, it's something that's beginning to bear fruit.
Well, it is, and if you look around the league, you've got a lot of starters. If you go to the Steras at LA or look at the back four in Philadelphia, you know, a lot of guys have spent their time in the affiliates and come in and been able to make a difference. You know, coming from the affiliate, there's a ton of players that have been loaned down on a temporary basis to get games and have success, and there's some young ones that flat out need that link between the academy and the first team, and have been successful there too. So you know, I think overall a very good job in the relationship in most clubs between the USL and the MLS and the first teams.
Approaching the last 10 minutes here, Houston Dynamo 2, New York Red Bulls 2. With Dynamo leading 2-0 at the break. And it has been a game of two halves, quite literally, as he throws one soccer cliche out there. Houston's first half very much, and the Red Bulls have certainly enjoyed it better in this second. Yes, Houston Dynamo don't want to lose this game. A draw or a victory will assure them of a place in the championship game on the weekend. They could be playing Colorado Rapids, who face New York City in the last game of today. That's a 5 p.m. local time kickoff here in Arizona. Two more changes then for the Dynamo. Emilio Garcia and TJ Kasner. And it's Wenger and Alexander that'll be stepping out, having played most of the game, 80 minutes. So Emilio Garcia, for those unfamiliar, 22-year-old, Mexican-born, with Rio Grande Valley in 2016 on loan from Pachuca. A midfielder, and TJ Kasner. Again, we talk about that Rio Grande Valley path. He drafted by Houston in 2016, never signed, instead headed to Rio Grande Valley. But he did make a US Open Cup appearance for the Dynamo in June of last season. So some more fresh faces and those with that Rio Grande connection. Into the last 10 minutes, a free kick for the Dynamo, a chance here, and a little wasted.
Nothing more frustrating than that ball that doesn't find you in the box, and when you feel like you've got good matchups, when you've pulled off the shoulder of a player at the far post, the ball just doesn't get in.
I mean, scoreline aside, who's going to be happier with the performance?
I think, you know, you got to, in these games, you've got to pick out the pieces that are relevant, and you know, certainly John Wolyniuk will be happy with the progress that his group has made, some of the things that they spoke about, and the little adjustments they were able to make to put themselves into this game. Part of that being fresh legs, being that adjustment, which is slightly different. But you know, I think he'll be very happy with where this team is, a team that hasn't been in as long as the MLS sides and don't play a game until kind of that weekend of the 23rd, 24th of March in real competition. Wilmer Cabrera's side is going to be, I think, pleased with a lot of things that happened early in the game, showing some of the experience of their veterans and getting those guys involved and moving the ball around. I think it shows also where you are in preseason, where as the game kind of stretched out, got a little bit longer, the quality dropped off a little bit. He had to make some changes, which also affected probably the quality of the match. So you got to put everything in perspective and come out. And I think there's going to be positives for both groups for sure. They won't be happy that they conceded 2 goals in the second half.
Well, this could open up for the Dynamo. Big chance inside the penalty area, and there's some good defending there. Getting across, Ethan Cutler denying Kasner.
Well, Cutler was involved in where the ball turned over, and he had to go a long way to try to get on the end of this and break it up, and he does. He gets just across, and Kasner just can't get it out of his feet there, and Cutler with a 60-yard sprint across the pitch.
Just outside the area. That's the decision Chris Penso had to make. And it will be a yellow card, though, for Taylor Hunter. Because I think otherwise Fernandez was away.
Well, Fernandez just able to slide in front here. Hunter gets the ball just a little too exposed and then has to grab him, or else Fernandez may be headed off toward the goal again.
Approaching the last 5 minutes, 2-2 between the Dynamo and the Red Bulls. Still to come here, the 3rd round of matches at the Desert Diamond Cup. By New York City against Colorado Rapids. Earlier today, Sporting KC defeated by the Revolution by 6-2. Now we have confirmation of the game to come. 7 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. local time. But all eyes on this one at the moment, the final few moments, and the Red Bulls looking to finish with a flurry. Wasted that one as well. I could see the idea, just nipping it around the wall to the near post, but the first part of that kind of collapsed.
Well, and it's a little bit easier to get that ball in when they don't have a player zoning that far outside the near post, so may have been doomed from the beginning there.
O'Toole with the throw, gets the ball back. Crowded out. Been impressed with Tim Schmoll this afternoon.
Big man, covers a lot of ground.
A Harvard graduate as well. So he's got a decent brain on those big shoulders of his. We didn't have any stoppage time at the end of the first half, despite an injury to Dwayne Muckett. Let's see how much Chris Penso adds on at the end of this second half. 12 goals in 2 games so far today, so not been short of action. Garcia back to Taylor Hunter. Had a lone spell at the Colorado Springs Switchbacks in 2015. Monotas takes it down, maybe the angle not the kindest from the chest of the Colombian. Otherwise he was away.
Well, we know very well from the end of last season that when he does get beyond and he does have a clean first touch, he can be deadly in front of goal. And obviously there was a chance earlier in this game that could have maybe put it out of reach, but certainly such a threat when you have to worry about that space behind the center backs. It drops everything off and then gives people room to play in front as well.
We've spoken at great length about Rio Grande and Red Bulls 2 at USL. If a player's not quite getting minutes in the first team, there is now that avenue to play regular competitive soccer at USL level, which wasn't there before when you had the MLS Reserve League.
Well, it's a decent level as well, so it's not, the Reserve League, it had some good value for some teams especially, but in USL it's more consistent competition, consistent level, and certainly a step forward in terms of reserve teams and reserve players.
Tim Schmoll, not sure how much celebrating he'll be able to do on pre-season, but his 24th birthday today, and he can be reasonably pleased with his performance. Free kick Dynamo as we approach the 90-minute mark. We're hearing there will be stoppage time at the end of this game of 2 minutes, and that board is just being held up in the shadows down below you. And we're into that time now. And it's difficult to gauge, isn't it? Because you've got a team at USL, trialists, unsigned players that are at a different stage of their pre-season. You've got a Houston Dynamo side that are just tinkering with things. It's tough to gauge with kind of the layman's eye. But
Yeah.
what are you seeing from this Dynamo side that we didn't see too much of in 2016, or was the struggle for them in 2016, but you've seen more promising signs today?
Well, I think you saw their willingness, their ability to play through midfield when they had the opportunity to do that, especially early in the first half when Red Bulls were sitting off of them a little bit more, a little bit deeper, and that group of Alexander and kind of that. And Garcia working together. Joe Holland did a good job in spots today. So seeing a mixture of players in there. Once again, this is not the group that played more as a first team for them a few days ago. So when you look at this and you look at it from the coaching staff standpoint, they are looking at individuals and how individuals are performing in here and where they need to go with those individuals. You look at some of the changes they made in the back, and I think they'll have some concerns about the depth that they have in those spots, and maybe not the depth, but the some of the changes that they made. Those are the things you're looking for. Yes, you want to win every time you step on the field, but there are quite specific items that they're going to be looking for in these games.
Of course, no AJ De La Garza, Leonardo, Ricardo Clark, Elise, Eric Torres, Kubo Torres, those guys not playing today. So, yeah, as you were saying, Brian, it kind of gives you an indication of the players available, the quality now available for the Dynamo, the options that they now have, and the strength in all areas of the park. As the final whistle blows, Game 2 of this third round of matches of the Desert Diamond Cup. Houston Dynamo with a 2-0 lead at the break. The Red Bulls coming back for the tie, and a 2-2 result. And that should be good enough for the Dynamo to take their place in the championship game at the weekend. These are the highlights from the match in this second half. And as you can see, the Red Bulls were just kind of finding their range. That early chance there from Andrew Tanari. Houston had a couple of chances at the second half, but it was a mistake that let them in for the first, and that was Fernandez.
The opportunities you see here from New York are all coming off turnovers, and even the restart that came here all comes off turnovers and their ability to press and win the ball higher on the field and create opportunity through that. So, very positive second half for that Red Bull group.
So there we have it. New York Red Bulls coming back to tie this one 2-2. Houston Dynamo with their opening game in MLS is just a week and a half away, at home to Seattle Sounders, and they will play for the championship game at the weekend. That is our understanding. Confirmation to come, I imagine, later on this evening, or certainly on Thursday. That first game on March the 4th against the Sounders. New York Red Bulls at Atlanta on March the 5th. One more game in pre-season to come for these two sides. The final score from Tucson, Arizona: New York Red Bulls 2, Houston Dynamo 2.